Zipporah was the wife of Moses, with whom he had two children, Gerson and Eliezer. She was one of Jethro's 7 daughters, or Huel, a priest of Midian. These people lived as a nomad in the Arabia desert and descended from Abraham by quite. Most interpreters say that the name Zipporah probably means bird. And in this video you will understand everything the Bible says about who was Zipporah, the wife of Moses. Moses met Zipporah when he fled from Egypt because of Pharaoh's wrath. He had killed an Egyptian to defend a Hebrew and thought that no one had seen what he had done. However, later, when he tried uselessly to be a judge of 2 Hebrews who argued, they accused him of murder. Then, by fleeing Egypt, Moses left for Midian, and there he settled. The Bible says he was seated by a well when Jethro's daughters went there to take water to give to his father's flock. At that time, some pastors expelled those women, among which was Zipporah. Then Moses stood up and defended them and gave water to the Jethro flock. And when Zipporah and her sisters arrived at their home, they told their father what Moses had done for them. Then that man ordered them to bring Moses, who consented to live in his house. And that's how Jethro gave him Zipporah as a wife. And then Moses became the father of Gerson and Eliezer. And about the birth of Gerson, the biblical text of Exodus chapter 2, verses 21 and 22 says, "And he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah, who gave birth to a son, whom he called Gerson, because he said, 'Pilgrim, I went to strange land.'" Already on Eliezer, whose name means God is help, the Bible says that Moses gave him this name in reference to the fact that God had helped him and delivered him from the lighthouse sword. And when Moses returned to Egypt according to the order of the Lord, Zipporah and his children accompanied him. In Exodus chapter 4, verses 19 and 20, we read, "He thus took Moses, his wife, and his children, and took them on a donkey, and made the land of Egypt. And Moses took God's rod in his hand." But following the biblical text, we are informed of an unexpected and somewhat curious situation. Between verses 24 and 26, also from chapter 4 of the book of Exodus, the Bible says that when Moses was in an inn during his journey from Midian to Egypt, the Lord found him and wanted to kill him. The Hebrew text is difficult to translate, so the phrase may also indicate that God wanted to kill not Moses, but to his firstborn. The most accepted interpretation among the biblical interpreters, that is, the interpretation that God's wrath lit against Moses himself for his responsibility in that situation. The Bible does not explain what actually happened so that the son of Moses had not yet been circumcised until then. And here it is worth remembering that this was a very serious absence, because in that context, circumcision was the sign of God's covenant with Abraham and his descent chosen. In this sense, circumcision served as a distinctive type of brand that a person belonged to the covenant family and was told among God's exclusive people. Therefore, it was inadmissible that the man raised by God to lead the liberation of his people from Egypt failed in obedience to this ordinance in relation to his own son. But the biblical text shows that Zipporah herself resolved this question, circumcising her son, as he realized that the wrath of the Lord lit against Moses because of that omission. But even so, she called Moses' blood husband because of circumcision, although the biblical text does not propose to explain what it really meant. Sometime after this episode, Moses sent his family back to his father-in-law Midian. It is possible that this happened as a result of the period in which God sent the 10 pests about Egypt. In this case, perhaps Moses sought to protect Zipporah and his children. In any case, we know that when Israel left Egypt and reached the desert of Sinai, Jethro took Zipporah and his children to Moses. About this, the biblical text says, "Jethro, priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her, with his 2 children, of whom one was called Gerson, because he said, 'I was a strange land,' and the other was called Eliezer, because I said, 'My father's God, it was for my help, and got rid of Pharaoh's sword.'" In addition to these reports, the Bible also speaks of an intrigue episode involving Moses' wife. According to the text of chapter 12 of the book of Numbers, Miriam and Aaron rose against Moses himself and accused him of marrying a Cushite woman, or Ethiopian. And here there is divergence among scholars about the identity of the woman referred to in this text. Some believe that this Ethiopian woman could be Zipporah herself. In this case, she was a Midianite, but which was designated by Miriam and Aaron as Cursita, perhaps because Kutsi was in the southern region of Egypt, but Midian also included the northwest part of Arabia, where they inhabited Cursita's tribes. Others argue that the text seems to indicate that perhaps Zipporah had already died at that time, and then Moses allegedly had married again, this time with an Ethiopian woman. And this is all we know about who Zipporah was in the Bible. And if you liked this video, leave your comment by telling you if you already knew the story of Moses' wife.
If something in you became quieter, clearer, or maybe even more restless after this video, then it was already worth it. Let us know what you felt, tell us your city, and if you can, subscribe and send it to someone who would appreciate this too. These little actions help the message go further. Thank you, Big Hug, and see you in the next video.